but the fact that there is a drip of coolant liquid currently hanging from the bottom of this hose should tell you that that is a problem. Nobody wants coolant leaks on their vehicles, especially on their RVs, because if you run out of coolant, your engine overheats, and if your engine has to be replaced, that can be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. You do not want to do that. Hey guys, this is David, the RV Shepherd. I want to share with you today the results of an RV inspection. You know, a lot of people call me, of course, as an RV inspector and ask me, what's included in inspection? Why should I get an inspection? I even had a lady the other day tell me she was having me come inspect some issues with her RV. And she says, I wish I would have known about getting an RV inspection before I bought my RV. She was having lots of problems with her brand new RV, and that can happen. So today I thought I would go through just a standard inspection. I did this one a couple of weeks ago. This is a 2022 Tiffin Phaeton. So this is a high-end motor coach. You can see if you look in the picture there, the sticker price is right under $350,000. A beautiful RV, a nice RV, but like I always said, the one thing that every RV has in common, whether it's brand new or whether it's used, is that they all have something wrong with them. And the question is, do you know what is wrong with the RV that you're thinking about purchasing? That's the purpose of an RV inspection, to come in as a third-party independent assessor to tell you, the potential buyer, what the current health of that RV is. And when I say independent, I tell my clients all the time, it sounds kind of cold, but as an independent inspector, it doesn't matter to me if the dealership or the private seller, if they sell that RV or not. And it doesn't matter to me if you buy the RV or not. My job is not to convince you to buy it, to convince you to not buy it. My job is to assess the RV and give you all the information I can give you to equip you to make the best decision you can make for you. Because something that may be a big deal to me may not be a big deal to you. If you're a diesel mechanic and I see some issues with the engine, you may say, oh, that's no big deal. I can fix it myself in my backyard, right? And for other people, if there's a little bit of gap in the sealant on the roof, they're like, oh, that's more than I can handle. I'm out. And so, and everything in between. So that is why I go through the RV. I do a very, very detailed inspection, provide a detailed report, which is what we're going to go over on this screen, and give you all the information you need. I'll answer any questions you have about the inspection. I always have a phone conversation after you've had time to look over the report, and we can talk a little bit. But ultimately, it is going to be your decision as to whether or not the health of that RV is in a situation where, or is it a status where you are not comfortable buying it, or maybe you are comfortable buying it. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's get into it. I want to go through some of these things, and hopefully this video won't be crazy long. Again, this is a 2022 Tiffin Phaeton 40IH. We did this, like I said, just on March 3rd. That's the date right there. The report, again, I'm going to try not to go through here like just line by line or whatever. But at the top of the report, we capture all the major issues, and they show up in one section, all the minor issues in one section, and then there's another section for notes and comments. There's one more section that's not included on this report because they didn't have any issues in that area, and that's life safety. That would be at the very top above major issues. A life safety issue is something like the fire extinguisher, smoke detector, CO2, LP detector. Things like that were not working properly because that's something that could kill you. Hence, your life is not safe. But what I'm gonna do, so this is like a summary at the top. I'm gonna scroll down quickly. Hopefully you won't get too dizzy as I scroll down, but I'm gonna get to the part with the pictures because every major, minor, negative comment comes with a picture. Also get a picture of the VIN number, the RVIA seal, and then do an overview of the roof. I don't remember if it was this one. I think it was. I told him this RV gets the cleanest roof award. Not just cleanest, but best overall health award. I don't think, I mean, we'll see here in just a second, but I don't think I hit anything. I don't think I found any gaps in the sealant. I don't think I found any issues with vent caps. A lot of times, like right here, these are plumbing vents, and sometimes those aren't fastened right. Sometimes the fasteners that hold these air conditioner shrouds down, sometimes they are not on there very well. The sealant around any of these items sometimes is cracked and just needs some more sealant applied to them to ensure that we don't get future water intrusion. You can even see from this picture that the slide toppers are in great condition. So overall, the roof was in great condition. You can see acceptable, 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 acceptable. And that's the normal language to say this, the status, the health of this item is currently acceptable. We don't say great, good, okay, We just say if it's acceptable, then it's meeting its purpose as designed, like it's doing its job the way it's supposed to. And if it's not doing its job, then there's kind of a little bit of a rating there. If it's completely failed, that's a big deal. If it's operating properly, but maybe failure is imminent in the future, that's a slightly lower deal. I mean, it needs to be noted, but it's not something maybe that has to be fixed today. But again, on a pre-purchase inspection, you're probably going to want to decide whether or not you want to have that fixed beforehand. So like take this for example, this says fair, there's a chip on the paint up by the windshield. See, I got circled there, that little white area. So evidently the windshield's probably been replaced in this RV at some time, and maybe they chipped the paint, but it's aluminum, it's not gonna rust, so it's kind of a cosmetic issue, and that's why I rated that as fair. The cargo access door, this is on the curb side. Another little tidbit is curb side is also what you would call the passenger side. In the RV industry, we refer to as curbside and street side. Because normally if you pull up to a curb, the curb's going to be on the passenger side of the vehicle. Anyway, this door was difficult to open, or actually it was more difficult to shut. You shut it and it wouldn't shut all the way, and you'd push on it really hard and it was still difficult to shut. More difficult than all the rest of them, so I noted that, and they actually made an adjustment. This person had me go out and do a re-inspection, which is another thing that I can do. After I do the full inspection, give you the report, have a discussion with you, then we can, or you can have the owner or the dealer make certain repairs, and then you can have me go back out and verify whether or not those repairs were actually done. Because I've seen dealers say they made repairs and then you get there and they really didn't. But this one I went back and re-inspected and they had fixed that door, so it was much, much better. Here's another little paint chip below one of the windows. Again, it's aluminum. I'm not worried about it rusting, but I like to note every little detail. Inside the storage bay, I put acceptable, but also made a note about it. The storage bay, the previous owner had, for some reason, unbeknownst to us, drilled a hole in the storage bay. This is one of those slide bay things that's inserted into the storage bay so you can slide it out, get to your stuff, and slide it back in. On the slider tray, there was a hole drilled in it, but then later a piece of metal had been screwed into it, so it still has a floor. I don't know why. Again, you never know why a previous owner did whatever they did. They just did it, and all I can do is look at it and say, here's the results, here's what I see. A lot of people ask me, well, why do you think that happened, or why is it the way it is? I almost never can tell you exactly why it is the way it is. Here's some paint scuffs on the bottom corner back. We'll get to some more important things here in a minute, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of the quality and detail. So like here, it's difficult to see in this picture, but the sealant tape that runs all the way down this seam right here on the top is coming up right in this area. And so it kind of needs to be pushed down and refastened. And then what I recommend is that a blob of sealant be applied over that to help protect that and keep it sealed all the time. There was a place here where these sweep seals, and I've got a short on my YouTube channel. I'll try to link it. Where would it link? It would link up here in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Um, I'll link it right now. A short about slide sweep seals. You can see down here at the bottom it's deployed, but at the top it's not. And this sometimes can be an indicator of sweep seals not being conditioned properly, like they're beginning to dry out. It could be a issue of alignment of the slide. If you don't know, a slide is a box that's inside a rectangular hole in the side of your RV, a giant rectangular hole. And that box can be off-centered a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. They can even be off-centered a little up and a little down, and there's adjustments for all of those. But this right here is just, it can be an indicator of that, or it's just an indicator when you deploy your slide outs in your RV to always go outside and check to make sure that these things are flipped out all the way they're supposed to be. There's another one right there that's the same way. And there's another one right there that's the same way. So these types of things they're somewhat common. You just need to check them. At the bottom of the slide out is this trim piece, and you can see right here where those two arrows are that there's a little bit of a gap right there, and that's a place where water can run down the side of this thing and come right into it. There's sealant all along the rest of this, but right here in this area the sealant has cracked, meaning it's just open just enough to separate and allow water to come in. Again, not a big deal, but I marked it as major. That's why it has a $sign, because that could be a major problem if it's not repaired. This one slide out did have an alignment issue. I actually marked it in the wrong place. It says slide out topper in operation. It should have been one bullet point above slide out operational alignment. And I told the person that hired me to do this inspection, I said, by the way, I put this, for some reason I was one step down from where I thought it was, but this comment is about alignment. Alignment issues on RVs are typically noted by looking at the distance between the side or the top of the RV and the opening in the hole, just like I talked about a minute ago, a little bit off-centered, a little bit too high or too low. So you've got let's say this is the hole in the side of your RV and this is your slide out. If it's too high or too low, you can see that the distance, it should be even in there. And so like in this one, you can see this is the top end. The top end, notice how the sweep seal is fully extended and laying, like barely touching the roof. It should be kind of sitting on the roof. This one's barely touching. And then this picture is on the underside. It's a little more difficult to see, but right here is between these arrows, the silver part is the bracket that is holding the sweep seal in place, and then this black part above it is the actual sweep seal. Try to zoom in, the picture doesn't really get any better. And the problem on that one is that if this is the bottom of the RV, that sweep seal is basically smashed in there. And so as the slide goes in and out, there's like that much clearance. And then on the top, there's this much clearance. So that's why there's an issue with that. And so I even called Tiffin to verify, yes, there is an adjustment procedure. I'm sure it has to do with adjusting the rollers, kind of lift that slide up a little bit. So that's something that needs to be done. Otherwise, it's going to destroy the sweep seal on the bottom, and the top sweep seal is not able to fully do its job. It's really okay, but you kind of see here on this corner, there's a little bit of a gap there. If it was higher, it would make better contact with the roof. Let's scroll down. I always do some call it overview of the undercarriage, so you can get these idea of what many people, when they look at their RVs, they don't actually crawl under their RV. We actually ended up on this one having an issue with the oil pan, and I'll show you in just a second, and a coolant leak. Both to me, which are really, really big deals, because engine trouble can be a big, big deal. So this one, no problem. This is the transmission housing. You can see Allison barely written out there. This is the transmission housing. The transmission pan, dry as a bone, no big deal. But tell me, can you see what's wrong with this picture? I immediately noticed two things. One is all this dark oil right here. And the other place I notice, is kind of hard to tell in this picture, this is the starter. The starter has a bunch of wet oil on it. And so that is immediate, to me, indication of a problem. And so I got up in there even better, and you can see this picture's kind of weird. This is actually down. This is looking up into the side of the oil pan area. And right here, this is where the oil pan gasket would be, just like on a car if you've ever had to have an oil pan gasket replaced. And you can see right here below these arrows, this is wet oil. And that wet oil kind of goes up over some of these things and comes back down. And that's why you can tell better on this picture that that starter has wet oil all over it. And then this is a close-up picture of a different area. The starter was like on the back left, and this is on the front right. So whatever, it's just the opposite corner of the oil pan. But again, you can see obvious indication of wet oil in this area. And so I noted those again as a big deal. And then this one at the bottom of the radiator, this one's pretty obvious too. I mean, you don't have to be an engineer to figure this out. You might be an engineer to know that this is a coolant hose, but the fact that there is a drip of coolant liquid currently hanging from the bottom of this hose should tell you that that is a problem. Nobody wants coolant leaks on their vehicles, especially on their RVs, because if you run out of coolant, your engine overheats, and if your engine has to be replaced, that can be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. You do not want to do that. So those are major, major issues. Let's go down some more. There was a light bulb that was out. So see, we span the entire spectrum from something as small as a light bulb or a scratch to, hey, your engine might need some significant maintenance here. Scrolling down, one thing we do is what's called a hot skin test. I'll try to link to a video here. It's not on my channel, but a video of what a hot skin is and why it's important to test for it. In short, basically, it means there's somewhere, in short, that's like a little funny there. In short, the power somewhere is shorted to the body and the frame of the RV, such that if you were to be standing on like the stairs right here, you're barefoot on the stairs and your other foot was on the ground barefoot, you can actually conduct electricity through your body. And if that voltage is high enough, you can actually get electrocuted. There's obviously very special and specific circumstances under which that might occur, but that's why we test these things when we do these inspections. And you can see there's 0 volts present here. I also do another test point. I do one here, and then I do another test point. I mean, I test points all around the RV. Any place where there's a screw or a latch or anything that's metal, even the sidewall, the wheel wells, things like that, the bumper hitch, all those things to make sure none of them are conducting electricity. But I also make sure, the steps in an important place and also where you plug in the power. We do an internal inspection of the breaker panel. We actually take it off, check to make sure all these wires are, one, they're in good condition, they're firmly fastened, and that the breakers are doing well, because these are where fires can start in RVs. On the kitchen counter, there was a USB port, this one on the right, that was damaged to where you couldn't even plug a USB in. Again, no big deal, but we note the little things. And let's see what else. The keypad, nobody knew the code. the dealership did not know the code. So I wanted to make sure and note that, so that the people that hired me, the potential buyers, knew that they needed to request to get that keypad reprogrammed so they could get the keypad. So this, on the refrigerator, the alarm kept chiming the entire day. It was very, very annoying. And we did everything we could. The refrigerator was on. It cooled down to the set temperature. We had water coming out. The water. We didn't get the ice maker to work. We see this ice makers. We see very, very common. We wrote it right here. Ice maker was not receiving water and therefore did not make ice. I don't know why. Ice makers are very common issues that we find in RVs, that they just don't work. So I would just say this: if you're buying an RV, don't be surprised if you have a residential fridge and the ice maker doesn't work. Okay? Don't say I didn't tell you. Oh, let's keep going. The first time the washer or the dryer was run, which is the washer, First time the washer was started, it says it right here. The GFCI in the mid bathroom tripped. The GFCI, we reset it, and then we started the washer again, and it ran just fine. Again, this is one of those things that we will note what we see. We can't always recreate it. We can't always make it happen. Obviously, it'd be an issue if every time you started the washer, the GFCI tripped. We would certainly note that as well. But it did it the very first time and then didn't do it again. The forward heat pump does not produce heat. So we recommend that they do whatever they need to do. They did some maintenance on it or replaced it. I can't remember which, but when we came back and retested it, it was working fine. Bunch of interior stuff. We started, little things like this. A seam in the wallpaper in the bathroom, the mid bathroom, was starting to come loose a little bit. There was an area where some scratches right here. This is a kitchen slide out to the right of this, and basically what had happened is somebody had probably stored something back here. There's a space about that big, just big enough for a cookie sheet or something like that. And they probably had it in there and didn't realize it and started bringing the slide in and it scratched it up. Again, not really a big deal. Super cosmetic in nature. But again, we note those things, little scratches on the cabinets. Piece of the screen by the driver's door was not attached properly. The seal gasket thing at the bottom of the shower door was tearing and coming off. They ordered a new one of those, put that on. Some more scratches and stuff on some drawers. Scratch in the back on the inside of this lower bedroom drawer. And that's the end of the report. We test the TVs, indoor, outdoor TVs, bunch of other stuff. So I wanted to say and show you all of that so that you know and get the idea of what is included in an RV inspection. Let me give you a quick review of what happened afterwards. Before I do that, I want to encourage and remind everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel. To follow along, I try to put out information that I think will be useful to you as an RV owner or a potential RV owner. Things that you can check and you can do yourself. Reviews like this, I'm going to start doing more of these. Actually, I want to see if I can do them live. So tell me if you would like to have like let's say a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening live review of an RV inspection where you can ask questions in the chat and stuff like that. We can do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So anyway, subscribe to the YouTube channel and let me tell you what came about with that inspection. So this particular inspection, the dealer said, we are not going to fix this engine oil leak, and we are not going to fix this coolant leak. I was honestly really, really surprised because these are not difficult fixes. They're a little bit, they're a little bit difficult. Don't get me wrong. They're not super easy, but they're leaks. It's not like you have not like we're asking them to replace the engine or replace the radiator or something like that. But like, for example, the radiator coolant leak. This is when I did the inspection. I went back a week and a half later to do the re-inspection, and there's still a drip on here. Now, is it the same drip? Is it a new drip? I looked on the ground. Of course, the RV had been moved, so I don't know if it's slowly dripping. And so this time I wiped it off. The owner, the potential owner, was going to come back in a few days and decide whether or not he was going to go ahead and buy it and just have the maintenance done on his own dime. But I told him, I said, I wiped it off and cleaned it off a little bit when I went back for the re-inspection. So if he looks and there's an active drip there, then he should know that that is new, right? When it comes to the oil pan gasket, again, it's one of those things, yeah, just keep checking your oil until you get time to get it repaired. We had to repair our oil pan gasket on a Cummins 400, motor, very similar to this one. And I think it ended up costing us about $1,500 to have a repair shop do it. So it wasn't expensive, sure, more expensive than it would be on a car. On a car, I would totally do it myself. On the RV, I was going to do it myself. And then I'm glad I decided not to, because there's a skid plate back there, and they ended up having to take the tow hitch, tow bar off because it was in the way. That oil pan, one, it's big, and it has to come down a lot to get out of the way of the pump and stuff that's in there. I was really surprised in this case that the dealership said, we're not going to fix it. And so they told the customer, You can buy it, or if you don't want to buy it, that's okay. And we'll give you your deposit back, and you can go find something else that you want. This is the type of stuff that I find in RV inspections. This is the level of detail, whether it's scratches, dings, dents, burned out light bulbs, or leaks in the engine, leaks in the coolant, major problems with the underbelly, the suspension, the whatever it may be. We also test the generator. We basically run everything in that RV as if you were living in it in an RV park for a month. We test the water on the pump and the water from the city water connection. We test the water heater. If it works on gas and electric, we'll test it in both modes. If you have an RV refrigerator that works on electric and works on propane, we test it in both modes. We open every drawer, every cabinet, every window, the emergency windows. We make sure they work. The vents on the top. I get up on top of the RV and crawl around. I always tell my clients I crawl around like a monkey on there on my hands and knees looking at the sealant all around the whole thing. Same thing for the sidewalls, same thing for the front and end caps, same thing for the underside. We do our best to be very, very diligent, very intentional, and very detailed about the inspection that we do. And I say we because my wife helps me. She does a lot of the interior stuff while I'm working on the exterior, but collectively between the two of us on an RV like this, it would take us about 8 man-hours. So 4, sometimes 5 hours on site, the two of us both working in tandem to get an inspection like this done. So it's no small feat. It's a major endeavor, and we do our best to over-deliver every single time. If you need more information than I gave you in this video, head over to my website, rvshepherd.com. Right there at the top, what I said towards the beginning of this video, I don't think I said the number, but more than 500,000 new and used RVs are bought in the United States every single year. And the one thing that all these RVs have in common, whether they're new or used, is that they all have something wrong with them. Every single one. Brand new RVs, I've seen major problems, and used RVs. So here's the question for you. If you're considering buying an RV, do you know everything, every single thing that is wrong with that RV? If you don't, you should give me a call. My phone number is right up there at the top, and you can also click the button to schedule a call if you're not ready to talk right now. It's connected to my calendar, and it will put it on my calendar, and I'll give you a call at that appointed time, and we can talk about the details and figure out how I can best serve you. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some insight into RV inspections, the kinds of things that I find from time to time, and how I may be able to best serve you. My name's David, the RV Shepherd. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.